Now we've got Dusty Harrah on the line, and Dusty has always got a unique perspective on this because when you're on the sideline, the sights and sounds are a little bit different than what you see on TV. So, Dusty, I'd like to open with you with this one. What stood out to you from your perspective today, standing on those sidelines? What was Oregon's game all about today, and what was your biggest takeaway from being down there?
I think the biggest takeaway that I have is that this team has so much that I was just sitting there looking on the sideline. So many guys are huddled around the offensive and the defensive coordinator, waiting for their unit to be called or their name to be called for the rotations to go in. And it was amazing how many guys. It's usually like 4 or 5 guys that are there. I mean, today it was like 15. And Coach Lanning has said this time and time again, that a number of above-the-line guys, right, like the guys that are playable, and how many of them that they felt that they had heading into this season. And those are the guys that are the ones that can play. They are above the line of playable. And the rotations that we saw, not when the game got out of hand,
early,
but at the very beginning of the game. Receivers, 7 offensive linemen in the first quarter. You know, it was running backs, a new running back every series, and we're switching out running backs every series. The secondary, we saw new machinations of guys in the back end of the defense that's being retooled. And it wasn't like hey, we need to figure out what we're going to do. They all were playing really well, and that's just a sign of the depth that they felt comfortable with heading into week 1. Usually those sorts of things happen in week 2 and week 3 when you go, all right, this guy's not cutting it. We saw so many guys get playing time and meaningful snaps when the game wasn't in hand yet. I think that was the thing that stuck out to me the most. I looked at it at halftime. 60 different Ducks played in the first half of the football game. And that is unique to Dan Lanning, to Oregon, and really college football to have that many guys play snaps before the game gets out of hand.
Hey, Dusty, I wanted to give you an opportunity to opine more on a guy that you kept mentioning during your sideline reports during the game, and that was new wide receiver, 5-star recruit Dorian Moore. The blocks that he had today, including that one pancake on that huge play for Oregon, obviously set him apart as far as like wide receivers in the room with blocking skill. I feel like that they've had at Oregon, but everybody wanted to see like him catching big balls today. Not necessarily what we saw from him, but honestly, the blocking might be more important. And I just want to get into how important Dorian Moore is going to be to this offense going forward, because it definitely looks like he can contribute in multiple ways.
Having a young receiver that not just understands blocking, but wants to block is such a sign of maturity, like football maturity, and what he understands is important to winning football. And to get that out of, an 18-year-old in his first collegiate game, I don't care who the opponent is, it's kind of that mindset and that mentality. And he has he's got that dog in him. And I was really impressed with the receiving corps as a whole, with how they were able to block on the perimeter, because so often you have, the diva-ness of, I just want to catch balls and score touchdowns. And 5-star guys have that all the time. He started off the game on the very first play, that Noah Whittington run that he popped down the sideline. That Dorian Moore held the block for 3.5 seconds, and the play was going to the left, and Dorian was on the right. And on the very first play of the game, he held that block for 3.5 seconds, and then Noah Whittington cut the ball all the way back across the field, and the angle that Moore took was the proper one. When the ball's going to the left, you want to get inside leverage on that defensive back, and he did it for a really long time. That, to me, was play 1. I went, whoa, that's different. Then he pops Gary Bryant and flatbacks a guy in the end zone. He did on the second touchdown, the Kenyon Sadiq touchdown, he did like a Superman block where he's just getting in the way, and you're so close to getting a clipping call. And if you touch him with your hands on his back, that's a clip. But if you kind of spread your arms out and you Superman in front of him, then all of a sudden you're just getting in the way. That's not a clip. You're just getting in the way of him. He has that kind of knack for it, and that is a guy, one, really well coached in high school, but 2, he gets it and he understands it. That is going to be the separator for him, because He isn't Jeremiah Smith, who's 6'3". He's 6 foot and 195 pounds. He's got a good frame on him that's going to get bigger as he plays more in college football. But to have that mentality is so important for a young receiver.
An interesting note on him, I heard the television broadcast note that Will Stein has compared him to Garrett Wilson, who was drafted 10th overall by the Jets. That he's not that giant Jeremiah Smith type, but he's the dude who does all the things the right way and who helps your team in so many ways. Dusty, the other big debut today, and it wasn't his Ducks debut because we've seen him play before in backup duty, but his debut as a starting quarterback for Dante Moore. I know that there was lots of speculation about him throughout the offseason. Would he be able to fill the shoes of Dylan Gabriel and Bo Nix? But additionally, there was even some smoke in the offseason about whether Dante Moore had won the job, whether Austin Novosad was pushing him. I know that no one's ever going to tell us anything official, but it seems pretty clear that Dante Moore is the guy. What do you make of his debut? What did you like that you saw?
Yeah, Dante Moore is an absolute dude. He is, and he took that job. And for anybody that will say that it really wasn't a competition and it was Dante Moore's, there was a competition between Austin Novosad and Dante Moore, but the command that Dante Moore had today, it was pretty impressive. Everything that we saw at UCLA that was the criticism of Dante Moore, whether it was slow processing or robotic-like in the pocket, that disappeared over the last 18 months since he's been at Oregon. And I think that what you saw, that was the most impressive thing to me. And I heard you guys talking earlier about, the criticisms of check down Charlies or whatever. No, I agree with you guys. Like, you take what the defense gives you, because if you have a team, and Montana State did a lot of what Idaho did, which was capping with 2 high safeties deep, saying, you guys aren't going to get the deep ball on us. We're going to force you to put a drive together and make short throws and make us pay that way. And Dante Moore did a phenomenal job of that. And if you don't make a team pay doing that, you continue to shoot yourself in the foot with deep balls, well, guess what? You never force the defense to adjust. And that's exactly what Dylan Gabriel did last year. It's what Bo Nix did to teams as well. Every time there was that criticism of, they don't never push the ball down the field. Well, they're forcing defenses to adjust the way that they're defending them. And Dante Moore did a great job of just taking what they gave him. But the thing that impressed me the most about him, and I heard you talk about, the Jay Harris play, and that was like, it was such a smart play because he did identify pressure coming, but he knew exactly where he was going to go. And that means the mastery of the offense, right? When he saw blitz coming, he knew what routes he had on the outside. So he said, I know where my safety valve is. I'm going to wait for him to clear. And he stood in there and he delivered the strike. So the processing pre-snap and post-snap, I think one play that was a really high level and high IQ play that you won't see very often, and you didn't see from him before, was a dropped pass, but the one to Kenyon Sadiq in the red zone,
yes, yeah.
I believe it was in the second quarter, where he put that ball on a line, and there were 2 defenders, and if he doesn't have that zip on it, then those 2 defenders absolutely crush Kenyon Sadiq, or they intercept the ball. He put it on a line. It went right through his receiver's hands. It was a perfectly placed ball, but it's changing the speeds, right? It's like a pitcher in baseball. You got to know when to throw the fastball and when the changeup needs to happen. And he went from being a thrower into a pitcher, right, where he is now knowing when to change speeds. He's changing arm slots. The whole conversation in the offseason that he was just a shadow of Dylan Gabriel, you saw that today. You saw that he actually was taking in what Dylan Gabriel was doing, because he wasn't throwing with those arm slots before. The criticism was that he was too robotic. And you saw him throw sidearm, 3/4, over the top, and that's the key to Dylan Gabriel's game. I mean, Dylan Gabriel is a 5'9", 5'10" quarterback that is now playing in the National Football League. You have to be above everybody else on the mental side, and you saw that, year where that was a redshirt year, Dante Moore took that to heart. He learned a lot from Dylan Gabriel, and it showed today.
Hey, Dusty, we were Expecting to see a little bit more of Mekhi Hughes at the running back position today. Thankfully, we saw a lot of the depth that Oregon has. You just mentioned a guy like Jay Harris. There's Jade Lamar. I mean, we saw everybody getting in on the action, even Jordan Davison, who fans have been texting in saying they need to put him at running back 1 now. But Mekhi Hughes was the transfer from Tulane, expected to be the guy getting most of the touches. Why was he not in until late in the first half today?
Because that running back room is really good, and it's really deep.
Okay.
And and this isn't like a knock on Mekhi Hughes. We know what Mekhi Hughes can do. We absolutely know what Mekhi Hughes can do because he did it at Tulane last year. He returns this year as the nation's leading returning rusher. But the fact is that Noah Whittington, Jordan Davison, De'Aaron Hill, Jaden Lamar, there's some dudes in that backfield, and 2 of them are true freshmen. De'Aaron Hill and Jordan Davison, I know that Coach Samples has called them thunder and lightning at different times during training camp, but those 2 true freshmen are special. And that is kind of going to be what we see, I think, throughout the course of the years. We're going to see a deep rotation, and there will be games where Mekhi Hughes is the bell cow. But we see this more and more in the National Football League, right, where you have multiple backs. And we're seeing it in college football where if you want to maintain your shelf life as you get out of college into the National Football League, then fewer carries actually helps you. And how many times have we seen like a Wisconsin running back, Monty Ball or Ron Dane, go and it's like that guy had 300 carries, and he was a workhorse. Well, they get to the NFL, and they don't have the shelf life because you take so many hits while you're in college. If you have a running back room that's deep, keep those guys fresh because it's in their best interest to keep fresh too. But Mekhi Hughes, I don't think it's anything he's doing wrong. I think it's the depth of the room. It is 6 deep in that running back room because Dean Riggs, who got in late, Mekhi Hughes, who got in late, those guys are pretty dang special in their own rights, and they have a lot of guys with a lot of different skill sets. I think different defenses are going to get attacked by different backs in this room because there's quick, shifty guys. They're big bruising backs like Lamar and Jordan Davison. They've got a counterpunch to whatever defense they're going up against.
Dusty, get you out of here on this one. I know that Dan Lanning always talks about going to the doctor after win or loss, and obviously there's a lot to like about this one, but we know how much growth football teams can make between week 1 and week 2. What do you think they're going to see when they go to the doctor that maybe they don't like, or what are going to be, in your estimate, areas of focus or emphasis this coming week as they get ready for Oklahoma State?
Yeah, it is really hard when you have a game like that. Everybody is on cloud 9 because there really wasn't a hole today. You had good returns in the return game. You had 2 blocked punts, so special teams. You could check. You didn't even punt yourself. You could check the box on special teams. Offensively, you went 9 for 9 in the red zone. On critical downs, they went 9 of 12 on 3rd and 4th down combined, including 2 for 2 on 4th down. So you can check the box on efficiency. Dante Moore looked good. The receiver room looked really good. The running back room and offensive line played 8 guys in their, with the starters. So they showed a little bit of depth. The defense, I mean, they were lights out, and you saw kind of how fast they are. I think if there's one thing that you're going to say you can go to the doctor on, it is, all right, what does the intermediate and deep passing game look like, and what can you work on, and were there shots to be had? I don't know if there really were, but that's something that you go to work on the offensive side of the ball. And on the defensive side, I mean, the crossing routes, because Taco Dowler, he's special, man. He's fun to watch, and he has a knack, that not every receiver has, to avoid contact and get across the middle fast. And I think if there's one thing that you can sit there and say, it's how do you defend the crossing route? Because there was a lot of chasing Taco Dowler today, and how can the Ducks get to a point where they're in front of, not behind any of the crossing routes? But if that's what you're looking at your weaknesses, I think it was a pretty good day. I thought tackling was really good by the first 2 deep. So that's like an early season thing that you'd like to clean up as well. And then the starters committed 2 penalties.
Yeah.
I think that you're not sitting there saying, how many times have we seen in these blowouts, penalties are a problem, tackling was still a problem, but they overpowered them. Those two things weren't, and you didn't turn the ball over. So it was pretty clean.
Yeah, I did have in my notes, no more Taco Dowler. That was the
no more Taco.
That's the only thing that that stood out as like, man, that was the only thorn in the side today. But Dusty, I actually want to get you out. I told you I'd get you out of here on that question. Get you out of here on this. I believe we're in the second season of the program podcast. Tell me what's going on with that.
Yeah, the program, we're back. Cole Linehan, former defensive lineman, and myself. We got 3 episodes a week now. Instead of just one long one, we do a recap of week 1. We have our interview on our recap is on Mondays. Wednesdays, we have our interview with a current or former player. I think this week is a good week that we will release the Dante Moore interview.
Excellent.
That we did. And then on Friday, we do a preview of the opponent. So we got 3 episodes. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. We have a lot of fun doing it and getting Cole's insight from his days playing at Oregon are a lot of fun as well. So we're going to have a lot of interesting interviews. We'll have Nick Reed coming up at some point this year as well. And then Matt Evenson, former kicker, get the kicker side of things where it'll get contentious because the kickers always used to go golfing during doubles, and they would bring their clubs to the cafeteria while everybody else had to go to a second practice. So we'll have a lot of fun over the course of this year, so get it wherever you get your podcast. Oh, I have one thing for you, too.
Yes.
The Will Stein on Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Did he mention that he coached Garrett Wilson in high school?
Yes. Yeah, that in Texas. Yeah, so I thought that was going to be too far to explain the degrees of separation, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no, there was a coach's clinic right when Will Stein got to Oregon, and a bunch of high school coaches, and Will Stein sat everybody down, and he's like, I used to be a high school coach, just like you guys. He goes, we'll watch some cut-ups of our team at Lake Travis, where he was the offensive coordinator. And he's like, we'll get some practice tape. First thing was the practice was at an indoor facility. I was like, that's different.
That's Texas.
And then I'm watching this, I'm going, who are these guys? And he's like, so Hudson Card is our quarterback. At that time, he just transferred from Texas to Purdue. He's like, our quarterback was Hudson Card. He goes, that receiver there is Garrett Wilson. And I was like, no, you were not a high school coach like all of us. Like, this is a completely different world that you were living on.
Yeah, it's like getting a Ferrari when you turn 16.
Yeah, exactly. It was my Sweet 16 from MTV, where you're like, this is not normal Sweet 16, buddy.
No.
But he has a special connection with Garrett Wilson, and he would know him better than anybody else. So that's a really good comp by Will Stein on Dorian Moore.
Well, we appreciate your time with us here. You can always hear Dusty on the sidelines with the Toyota Sideline mic and on the program podcast. Thanks for checking in with us, Dusty. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Great job, guys. It's awesome listening to you.
Absolutely. It's always good after a win. 59-13 the final. The number 7 Ducks take down Montana State.